This is an AI agent that's working autonomously through a business project. I gave it the instructions about 90 seconds ago. Today, I'm going to show you 3 use cases which can genuinely change how a professional works with this technology. And I'm going to show you the moment that it did something that I wouldn't have signed off in a document that really matters. So I'm the professor, or Paul, and I've had 3 lives really. The first life, I was a British diplomat for 20 odd years and travelled all over the world doing some wonderful things, meeting some amazing people. Secondly, I then worked in a university as Pro-Vice and then Deputy Vice-Chancellor at one of the UK's biggest university and led our work on the use of new technology and our work supporting businesses in the UK and around the world. And now I'm a consultant that supports businesses in the UK and overseas to get the most out of AI technology, whether it's governing it effectively, whether it's dealing with vendors, whether it's building out apps and tools that help businesses to grow. Okay, today we're talking about agents. So let me be precise about what an agent is, because I think there are a whole series of different things that agents can be. So the normal chatbot that you get in ChatGPT and Claude, that's an agent, but it's got a very specific role. It talks to you and it can act like an assistant. It can draft things, it can send things, etc. And what happens is an agent does the work. It reads your files, it decides what steps to take, and then it takes them. The output is not a suggestion on the screen. It's an actual output, a change to your system, a change to a document, etc. So an agent actually takes things on, doesn't give you an answer, doesn't suggest something. It actually goes off and does it. And this is what's interesting about agents. And I guess where it creates a governance issue, because unlike using a chatbot where it's giving you a suggestion, you make a decision and you go and do the activity, now you've got something in your organization that is reading documents, making decisions, making changes, making outputs, doing things. And that's different in the governance space. And nobody specifically has authorized those specific activities. It may have, a group of people may have looked at the agents. Somebody may be ultimately responsible and should be for the output of that agent, but the agent effectively runs autonomously. So I'm going to give you 3 demonstrations of how agents work. First of all, reading, then reaching, then acting. And you watch what it needs from me each time. Okay, this is a set of files and folders I've had for many months now. It's all about my YouTube strategy. So I've said to the agent in Cowork, read every file in my YouTube strategy folder. Based on the evidence in those files, tell me what my content strategy actually is. Not what I say it is. Where the files contradict each other, say so. And off it goes. It's drawing out the information and it will read that information and then it will give me an answer. So it is looking at a large set of documents. It's also bringing in data from places like vidIQ on what my actual work is around YouTube, and then it will give me an answer. The impressive thing here is that it doesn't just read documents. It can read 60 of them and hold all of that context at once and then give you some feedback about it. Now, I don't know about you, but I certainly couldn't do that. Okay, so it took about 15 minutes. It read all 71 files. Now, remember, it couldn't have just picked out 3 or 4. It had to read them all if it was going to really understand and answer my question. It looked at 15 published descriptions covering 14 videos, 12 full scripts and demo prompts and packs, the LinkedIn and X posts that went with those videos and the tags, etc. You run an AI news desk, not a governance channel. The rule says do not chase trends. And I, unfortunately, sometimes chase a trend. The governance arguments is a closing move, not a subject. So it's saying, look at what you've done. What you're not doing is building in the governance piece, which is what my business is about, and that's what I should be doing. I get excited by this technology, and so I want to do things like videos like this, that are really about how this technology works. Demonstrations is what you really like. You're not particularly interested in the governance side, which is probably part of the reason why I don't do so many of them. That I've got a whole series of tools and courses, etc., that I sell on the back of my YouTube channel. I can tell you don't make enough money to buy a cup of coffee each week, really, from YouTube. So there has to be a whole load of other things that sit beside it. I've got tools that people can use to generate their AI policy. I've got tools so that companies can find tenders. They get an email every morning. I've got tools that support people to bid, all sorts of different things that I built with AI and that I deliver to companies to help them to be more effective. But my videos are disconnected from that. I won't go through it all. It's a bit painful because I'm not doing what I said I would do. So as you can see, this is a really useful piece of work. It's gone back, looked at everything I've done over the last 3 or 4 months, and it has compared that with the strategy that I set. The answer is I'm not doing very well at it. And it's because I enjoy YouTube. I enjoy telling you about the latest technologies. But put a comment down below if you want something different from me, and then I will see if I can deliver it. Okay, so that demonstration, a bit painful, was about using this technology, using agents within this technology to go out, to search through lots of information, to bring it all together and to give me a response. But all of those documents were inside that particular system, inside Claude project. This one, I want it to go outside. So what I'm saying is, and again, this one might be a bit painful, look at my calendar for the next week and my unread mail from the last 5 days. Tell me 2 things. What needs a decision from me before Friday, and what have I committed to in writing and I've not yet done? Could be interesting. So it's pulling my calendar. So the agent's going out, grabbing my calendar, pulling it in so that it can do the reading. I may need to blur some of this. So it's looking at my calendar and it's looking at my emails. So it's not just looking at the top email, it's looking down the thread of each email. So the second task is the one I'm really interested in. I think anyone can sort of summarize a calendar, but finding out what I've agreed to that I haven't quite done yet, that's quite important. And it requires it to read the email, to understand the commitment, and then cross-reference it against what's happened since. There will be things there, I'm sure. Okay, we've had to go back to full screen because this is quite interesting. So I've got 5 decisions to make before Friday. Actually need to make them before that. So it has gone deep into my emails and identified the 5 decisions. 2 of them I think I would have missed. And I can't show you them because some of them are quite sensitive. And in terms of what I'd promised and what I hadn't delivered, there were 6 things that I promised that I haven't delivered yet. So I need to get working on them. Now, I can't really show you them because, as I say, some of them are quite sensitive, but this might be the most useful thing I've done in the last fortnight. Let's move on. Okay, what I've got here is my vendor security questionnaire tracker. Now, the information that's in here is not real information, but this structure is absolutely the way I structure it and use it with boards. So this is the vendor information. And what I'm going to do is add a new company in and ask it to add it in and compare it against the previous one. So this time, the agent is not just reading, it's not just going outside of my files, it's reading and it's writing. So I've added in the file and I've said read the allegedly project brief in my YouTube strategy folder, assess allegedly against the columns in the AI vendor security questionnaire tracker and add it to the tracker as a new row. See what we get. So it's having to search files in different areas. It's reading the fictional product brief. It will do an assessment, searching my files. It will do an assessment. It will add the information in. Okay, now let's see what happened. So it said the assessment is short because the brief gave nothing to assess. And that's the key, that I put no information in that could fill out this form. Let's see what it's done. And it's good. It's put not provided, not stated, no, not stated, not stated. So I guess what it's done is updated this file as I asked it to. But I think what it should have done was come back and say, no, there's no information that's suitable for this file, so I can't undertake that task. It did write when it probably shouldn't have written. However, it did look at what was in there and tried its best to put it in. So I guess this is the thing you need to be careful about. It will make its best guess if it's not sure. And in this case, it probably messed up. It shouldn't have done that. It should have just spat it out and said, the document you gave me doesn't relate to this document. I can't fit them in. It didn't. It had a go to try and fit them in. It did fit it in with holes in the data. So it didn't make stuff up, which is really good. But it did put it in when it probably should have spat it back out and said, this doesn't fit. Now, I've run a similar task like that before, and actually I've seen AI make up answers where there is missing information. Now, that's clearly a very dangerous thing to happen. So, as I always say, make sure that you check everything that the AI does on your behalf, because in the end, you're the one that's going to be responsible for it. You can't blame the AI. The information's gone in. You are effectively saying that I'm happy with that information. Notice something, that file has now changed. I didn't approve it. It just wrote directly to that file. Now, I can obviously delete it, but think about if that was a really big, important file for your business, and suddenly the AI has written all over it, and you don't know where it is, you don't know how to remove it. So be very careful when using this technology. You know exactly what you're doing. So let's set the tools aside for a moment, and I want to talk about what those 3 demonstrations show. The first one, I asked a question about my content strategy and gave it access to a whole load of files, 70 odd files that had been stored up, that had grown over the past few months. In the second, I asked it what needed a decision. So it went through my email, it went through my calendar, and it picked out those things that needed a decision. And it was frighteningly good at doing that. It found things that I think I would have missed. It found things that I knew about, but gave me a list of when I'd agreed to do it. So that was a really, really valuable use of this technology. Why don't you try it and see what you get? And the third one, I asked for an additional row on a spreadsheet, and I granted it access, and it did it. Every one of those things is me granting the ability to do things much larger than the individual task probably required. And that's not a flaw in the product. It's structural. It's how this technology works. An agent can't know which files are relevant until it's read all of them. That's what makes it useful. But that's also what makes a permission model really difficult, if not impossible, to enforce. Now, put that into an organization. Your finance director doesn't ask for access to every folder in the organization. He asks for a specific folder where he might have his or his team's information. And that decision is recorded. That is how model organizations have been running for many, many years. An agent breaks that model. It needs breadth to be useful. So the answer is not, should we be using agents? It's probably more about what's the smallest slice of the business we should be allowing agents to access. And then who signs that off? And then there's a second question that sits underneath all of this. Can you reconstruct what the agent did? Now, I could see what the agent was doing because I was sat here watching, it, and it was reporting on its activities as it went through. But tomorrow, later this evening, I'll be running agents and I won't be watching them. I might have 4 or 5 or 6 or 20 going all at once doing different tasks. If somebody asks me in 6 months why I allegedly got onto that vendor list, I'll have the file. I'm unlikely to remember. There's no decision log, no basis, no record of why that activity was done. And that's an audit gap. And it's the same gap I've talked about on this channel many, many times. The only thing that's changed is that in that chain is a machine and not a human. So let's get practical. If somebody wants to use an agent in your organization against real systems, these are the 3 questions, not technical questions, governance questions you should be asking. 1, what is the blast radius? So not what the task is, what can it reach while it's doing its task? What's the reach of that agent? You can't draw a boundary around what that agent's doing. You're probably not ready to deploy it. Number 2, can it act or can it only propose? Reading is probably a risk you can live with. Writing, paying, sending, responding, those are a different category of risk altogether. And I believe they need a named human between the agent and the action. And if your answer is, well, it only drafts, check that, because these agents can drift. Suddenly you go from no need for me to check it, just send it. Suddenly that air gap between the agent and the customer has disappeared. So be really careful about agents. Once they've been granted permission, are you still following the rules that were set at the start of that permission? And then question 3, who owns the output? When that spreadsheet row is wrong, no point in saying, well, the AI did it. Somebody owns that spreadsheet, somebody owns that error, and somebody needs to stand up for it. Decide who that is before you switch it on and log it. I'll be honest with you, I've sat in meetings where people have been proposing using agents, and I've yet to be in a meeting where somebody can answer all 3 of those questions. Now, I'm not telling you not to use them. I use them every single day. They're the most significant change that's happened to my business since I started this channel. And the demonstrations I've shown you today are exactly how I use agents all the time. The honest picture is that Agentic AI is not a new assistant. It's a new actor in your organization with wide access, wider than probably anybody else in your organization. It has the ability to change things, and it doesn't have a memory that you can audit. And that's an accountability question. And it's a governance mechanics question. If you've been following my PAIGE series, all of them are out now. If you've been following my PAIGE series, you know exactly which 2 pillars they are. The vendor tracker that you watched is one of the 10 documents in my AI governance package. So is the accountability chain and the audit trail structure. Not theoretical, it's what I use when I'm talking to organizations. And I've updated the vendor assessment this year specifically because of what you've just watched. The link to all of these are in the description. One thing about the comments, and I will read every single one, I promise you. Tell me the widest access you granted an AI tool in your organization. I'm really interested to find out. And tell me whether anyone signed that off. I suspect the answers might be a bit uncomfortable, but don't worry, you're here among friends. Okay, subscribe if you want this sort of video. If this is the sort of video that interests you, then don't forget to subscribe, give me a like. And if you think somebody else should be watching this video, then share it with them. I've been the Professor. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.